When Glynnis MacNicol steps off the plane in Paris, there is a softness in the air that she hasn't felt in a long time. It's August, the city is mostly deserted, and the quiet feels like a balm after the months she spent in pandemic-era New York, locked away in her apartment with only her thoughts for company. Now in her late 40s, MacNicol is not looking for transformation. She isn't in search of meaning. She has simply come to enjoy herself, and that declaration becomes both the lens of her memoir and the quiet revolution it represents. She takes up residence in a borrowed apartment in the Latin Quarter. The windows open to the sound of bells, the scent of bread wafting from a nearby boulangerie. Nothing dramatic happens, and that's the point. There's power in the absence of drama, in finding meaning through being present rather than productive. She pours herself glasses of wine with no reason to celebrate, walks the same streets over and over just to feel the rhythm of them, and sits by the Seine doing absolutely nothing. These are the rituals of someone who has made peace with her own company. There are men, of course. There are flirtations and moments of longing, and yes, sex. But none of them are the center of her story. The pleasure she finds is real, but fleeting. The intimacy that matters most is not romantic. It comes from her friendships with other women, strong, complicated, aging, laughing women who gather over meals and midnight walks, exchanging truths that feel more urgent with each passing year. Glynnis is not interested in the traditional arc of a memoir that ends in marriage or some great epiphany. Instead, she invites the reader into her ongoing experience of autonomy, of aging without bitterness, of joy that doesn't ask permission. She acknowledges the shadows. Loneliness, envy, the aching realization that the world does not value women without husbands or children, but she doesn't linger there. She steps over those moments as one steps over cracks in the sidewalk, aware, but not swallowed. Each chapter unfolds like a vignette. There's the night she dances on a boat on the Seine, sweat pooling in her collarbone as the bass throbs through her body. There's the morning she swims in the ocean, breasts bare, feeling her body move through saltwater like it belongs nowhere and everywhere. There's a grocery store argument over fruit that leaves her laughing in spite of herself. These stories don't build to a climax. They accumulate, like layers of perfume, each one deepening the mood of the whole. She often thinks of the women who came before her, Colette, Simone de Beauvoir, Lee Miller. Their images, their lives, linger in the corners of her mind as she walks through the same streets they once claimed. She doesn't idolize them, but she recognizes them as proof that a woman can live a full, complicated life without being defined by someone else's expectations. These women are not ghosts, they're allies. MacNicol's writing is lush but unpretentious. She captures the sensuality of aging in a way that feels almost radical. Wrinkles aren't something to hide, they're maps of pleasure, lines of survival. She does not shy away from the reality of being a woman in a world that constantly asks you to make yourself smaller, quieter, more useful to someone else. Her Paris trip becomes an act of defiance simply by being rooted in pleasure for its own sake. There's no eat pray love transformation here. No dramatic turning point. Just a quiet shift in how she sees herself and her life. She isn't becoming someone new. She is more fully becoming herself. There's strength in that, a kind of liberation that doesn't need to be shouted, only lived. The city offers her no answers, but it offers her space. Space to stretch, to soften, to indulge. There's a moment when she sits alone on a park bench watching children play, realizing that the life she leads is not a placeholder. It's not the space between relationships. It is the relationship. And it is enough. Pleasure, she comes to understand, is not a reward. It's a right. It's not something you earn after suffering or sacrifice. It's something you can claim, deliberately, joyfully, without apology. Especially as a woman. Especially when the world wants you to disappear after a certain age. The loneliness she sometimes feels doesn't disappear, but it becomes a companion she no longer fears. It has shape, like weather. Sometimes it rolls in, sometimes it lifts. But it never defines her. She doesn't wait for it to leave before dancing, or laughing, or swimming naked in the sea. Her time in Paris is not endless. Eventually, the calendar pages flip, the flight date looms. But instead of dreading the return, she carries with her a renewed sense of ownership over her life. She has touched something she already knew but had nearly forgotten: her life belongs to her. Every minute of it. She returns to New York not with a new plan, but with a reminder. That pleasure is not frivolous. That joy is not childish. That she is allowed to seek out delight not in spite of her singleness, but because of it. It is hers. Entirely. In the end, the title says it all. She is not here to fix herself, to become a better version, to compete, to apologize, or to explain. She is mostly here to enjoy herself. And in claiming that simple truth, she unlocks something radical, not just for herself, but for any woman who's ever been told she needs to be part of a pair to matter. If you finish this book with a smile and a sigh, it's because you feel less alone. Not because Glynnis gave you permission, but because she reminded you that you never needed it in the first place.